Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are group 5. In this video, we will present about functional approaches to SLA. First of all, let us introduce ourselves.
Hello, my name is Ayu Wandira.
My name is Mochammad Adnan Syaifullah.
My name is Dwi Rizky Tektonia.
And my name is Sumayyah.
My name is Parti Fergit.
So the first material will be presented by Ayu.
Okay, thank you for the time, Kiki. And we move to the material, functional approaches to SLA. Functional approaches, which are characterized as a function, differ in emphasis and definition, but share the following characteristics in general opposition to those in the Chomskyan tradition. 1. Focus is on the use of language in real situation or performance. 2. Study of SLA begins with assumption that the purpose of language is communication, and that development of linguistic knowledge in first language or second language requires communicative use. 3. Scope of concern goes beyond the sentence to include discourse structure and how language is used in interaction, and to include aspects of communication beyond language. Tamlin, 1990. Next slide, systemic linguistics. Systemic linguistics has been developed by M.A.K. Halliday beginning in the late 1950s. This is a model for analyzing language in terms of the interrelated system of choices that are available for expressing meaning. Basic to the approach is the notion, ultimately derived from the anthropologist Malinowski, that language structures cannot be idealized and studied without taking into account the circumstances of their use, including the extralinguistic social context. Okay, thank you. That's all from me, and will be continued by Adnan.
Thank you for the time, Ayu. The next is functional typology. Another approach within the functional framework is functional typology, which is based on the comparative study of a wide range of the world's languages. This study involves the classification of languages and their features into categories, with a major goal being to describe patterns of similarities and differences among them, and to determine which types and patterns occur more or less frequently or are universal in distribution. Next. So functional typology has been applied to the study of SLA, most fruitfully in accounting for developmental stages of second language acquisition, for why some second language constructions are more or less difficult than others for learners to acquire, and for the selectivity of cross-linguistic influence or transfer, that is for why some elements of first language transfer to second language and some do not. One implication that we might draw from this approach is that some aspects of some languages are more difficult to learn than others, in spite of the traditional claim within linguistics that all languages are equally complex. Another issue that we might speculate about is why some types and patterns of features are more or less frequent than others in both native and second languages. Thank you. For the next material will be presented by Dwi Rizky Tektonia.
Okay, thank you. So here, function to form mapping. Next slide, please. So, function to form mapping. Acquisition of both L1 and L2 involves a process of grammaticalization in which a grammatical function, such as the expression of past time, is first conveyed by shared extralinguistic knowledge and inferencing based on the context of discourse, then by a lexical word such as yesterday, and only later by a grammatical marker such as suffix ed. Next. According this approach, language acquisition importantly involves developing linguistic forms to fulfill our pragmatic function. Grammaticalization is driven by communicative need and use and is related to development of more efficient cognitive processing as part of language learning. Next.
And then the next is information organization. Next slide. Okay. An information organization refers to a functional approach which focuses on utterance structure or the way in which learners put their words together, according to Klein and Perdue, 1993, page 3. The task of studying SLA from this perspective includes describing the structures of interlanguage called learner varieties by Klein in Purdue, discovering what organizational principles guide learners' production at various stages of development, and analyzing how these principles interact with one another. And in the information organization, there are two kinds, which is the first one is what it calls as developmental levels. And in these developmental levels, all of the learners in this study, no matter what their first language or their second language, they will go through a remarkably similar sequence of development in their interlanguage. And the sequences are the first one, which is called as NUO, which is nominal utterance organization. In this sequence, learners generally begin with the seemingly unconnected naming of subject and object. In the example with nouns and pronouns or nominals, they may also use adverbs and adjectives or other elements, but seldom use a verb to help organize an utterance. The examples of this sequence is from the Punjabi native language, and the utterance is Charlie and girl accident. And then the other examples is from the Italian native language, native speakers, and the utterance is this man one idea from the window. And then the second sequence, which is called as IUO, which is infinite utterance organization. In this sequence, learners increasingly add verbs to their utterances, but they seldom use grammatical morphemes to convey the meaning of tense, person, or number. In the example, the verb is uninflected or infinite. There's also increasing use of grammatical relations such as preposition, and at this stage, learners have constructed an interlanguage grammar which is called as the basic variety, and they may be also expressing themselves adequately at this stage in some contexts. And the examples of this sequence is from the native speaker of Punjabi, and the utterance is Charlie and girl and policeman put on the floor. And then from the native speakers of Italian, and the utterance is the blonde friend tell other woman about the sun. And then the third sequence, which is called as FUO, or finite utterance organization. And in this sequence, learners who continue into language development beyond the IUO level next add grammatical morphemes to the verb and in the examples is the verb become inflected or what it calls as finite. This is the process that as example of this is from the entrance is after she said to Charlie, "You eat dinner," and the other examples is from the Italian native speakers, and then the utterance is "He has finished the work." In the other examples is from the Italian native speakers, and then the utterance is "He has finished the work." And then for the second information organization, which is organizing principles, will be explained by my friend Parti Fergit. Parti Fergit, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Sumayyah. Organizing principles. The first one is phrasal constraints. Once the verb has emerged, for example, a basic pattern is noun phrase plus verb with a second noun phrase after the verb possible. There are also restrictions on the composition and complexity of each phrasal category. For example, at one stage of development, a noun phrase may consist only a noun or pronoun. The second one is semantic constraints. When an utterance has more than one noun phrase, learners use such semantic factors to decide which one should come first. The principle that learners follow is to put the agent first, or the noun phrase that refers to the thing that is most likely to be in control of other reference. And the third one is pragmatic constraints, including restrictions that relate to what has been said previously or to what the speaker assumes that the hearer already knows. The general pragmatic principle is to put what is known first and new information or what the speaker is focusing on last. The next slide, please. All of the functional approaches discussed here basically agree on the following. What is being acquired in SLA is a system for conveying meaning. How language is acquired importantly involves creative learner involvement in communication, and understanding of SLA process is impossible if they are isolated from circumstances of use. The next slide, please. That's all of our presentation. Thank you.
Okay, so that's all from our group about functional approaches to SLA. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.